today making an 8.5 by 11 layout. I like to do these 8.5 by 11 layouts when either I have just a one photo or a small photo, or if I'm starting to run out of paper in some of my scrapbooking kits that I'm getting. So in this case, I kind of had both. I didn't have a whole lot of full sheets of paper left, but I also had one smaller photo. So I thought this would be perfect for an 8.5 by 11 size. And I just put these in my 12 by 12 album. So I will get 8.5 by 11 paper or page protectors and just stick them into my 12 by 12 album. Sorry if you heard my dog barking. He is in the kitchen and you may have heard him before my husband got him to be quiet. So I apologize for that. But on to my video, or onto the layout. What I did is I put gesso all over the background here, and I did use a clear gesso because I wanted the background of this paper to stand out. And then what I'm doing now is taking my gelatos. I have not used my gelatos in forever, so I definitely want to pull these out and play with them. And I thought both of these colors, this pink and blue, went really well with this paper, this scrapbook paper. And I didn't really like how it was looking on the page when I did it directly and used the baby wipe technique. I thought it looked a little bit too harsh and dark, so I wanted to lighten up a bit. So I decided to use the plastic packaging technique instead. So I am just smushing this onto the plastic packaging, spraying with a little bit of water, using my paintbrush to mush it around, and then blotting it on the page where I wanted the color to go. And this pink is pretty subtle. You can see it quite a bit more in real life. It does have just a slight bit of shimmer to it, so it's a little pearlescent, I guess. So I really like how it looks and just gives a little color to the page. I'm also going to use the blue. I'm going to do the exact same technique. I'm going to smush it onto the page, and then I am going to use my spray bottle and my paintbrush to smush it around and then lay the color down, just like I did with the pink. Next, I'm putting the blue down the exact same way I did with the pink. I am just smushing that down on the plastic packaging, and I'm going to add a little bit of water and then use my paintbrush to mush it around. And I'm just going to kind of put this in a couple different places. I like to really play with this mixed media because you just never really know what it's going to look like. So this looks a lot different than if I use maybe the sprays. So I definitely recommend, if you're not used to using mixed media or you're a little afraid to use it on your page straight away, definitely get out a journal or a mixed media book or something like that, and then definitely play with it. See how the mixed media works, try it different ways, like you saw me earlier, put down some of it directly to the paper and then use a baby wipe, or you can use a moist towel as well. And that will, gives you a totally different look than doing this packaging technique. So depending on how dark or light you want it, you might want to try different techniques. So I'm just using my towel to dry up the gelatos, and then I am going to work on a little bit more mixed media, and I wanted to have some darker splatters. I could have used the blue, but I just thought it was a little too light, so I'm going to pull out two different sprays from my stash. I'm going to mix them together and then just sprinkle them up and down diagonally on the page. I just want to have a little bit of a pop of a different color. So I'm going to mix this kind of green Mr. Huey's and this more blue Lindy Stamp Gang. And I apologize, I forgot to write down the two colors that I had. I might be able to find them. If you're super interested, just let me know in the comments below and I can look that up. I think maybe the one is Blue Aster or something like that. And then Mr. Huey's, I just really don't know. But I can get that information, just let me know. So I'm just going to mix those together. I like that look. It kind of reminds me of the border color, and I'm just going to add little bitty splatters kind of all the way up and down the page, and then that will be it for the mixed media. Next, I'm going to start working on the photo cluster and the embellishments. So I'm going to mount this photo on this blue cardstock. This is the same cardstock that the layout was mounted on, and I'm just going to use my ATG gun on this. And then I'm going to trim it out. I just want a very thin border. I don't want anything too much on here. And this is a good way to use up your scraps, is to mount your photos on the same color that you may use as a border or what have you. Next, I'm going to take this acetate. I love this acetate. It's so super pretty, and it just screams spring to me. It reminds me of spring or summer for that matter. And I like the texture it gives onto this page. I like that it has the kind of shiny clear look so you can see the mixed media underneath it, but then it also gives a nice texture with the shiny acetate. So I'm just going to mount my photo on top of that, and then you're going to see I'm going to start playing with some other papers here to try to figure out how I want to mount this photo. I first put that photo paper, or that paper right there. It has little what are they, like popsicles on them, and I didn't like how it looked the first way, so I am going to tuck it this way, and then I'm still going to play. I still am not liking how this cluster is looking. I'm trying to audition with that blue and white stripe paper. Just wasn't doing it for me. So I decided to pull this strip of paper out here, and I'm going to kind of make a shelf for my layout, or not my layout, but my photos and my embellishments to sit on. And then I also decided to pull out my punches, and I really like this notebook punch. It looks like a something you like pulled out of a notebook. So I'm going to punch this edge here, and then I'm going to mount this paper behind my photo. And I just really like the texture that that punch gives. And it's nice because not only do I have the kind of flatness of the paper below, but I also have the acetate, and then I have the texture of the punch. So I really like how that looks. So it's really a good way to use your punches, to pull them out and use them as ways to just kind of add some additional texture to your pages. And in a little bit, you're going to see that I'm going to pull out my scallop punch and use that as well. Now I am using this yellow wood grain paper. I don't know what it is about wood grain, but I absolutely love wood grain. I don't care if it's yellow, pink, blue, brown, whatever color it is. I think I use it on my pages if I have it in my stash. It just is really nice. I don't know if it is that kind of naturey look to it, or what it is, but I really like the wood grain paper. So I'm just going to trim this out so that the photo and that punched edge paper kind of just fits inside that square. And then I'm going to start kind of gluing everything down to that, what is it, the acetate paper. So here's that scallop punch I was talking about. I am going to take it, and I punched out this yellow paper, and then I'm also going to punch out the white and blue stripe paper. And a little tip, if you don't have quite enough paper to make it all the way across whatever you're trying to embellish, you can just trim it in half, and then your photo or whatever embellishment you may be using can cover up the seam. So you would never know that I was using two pieces of paper here. So that's a good tip if you're trying to use your scraps, or you just don't have enough of your favorite paper. I just trim it out. And here, I'm not exactly sure why I trimmed this piece, because it was a 12 by 12, but I don't know. I may have had my reasons for some reason. I just don't remember anymore. So I'm going to mess with this quite some bit of time. So I am going to skip through some of this so you don't have to watch me doing this. And then I'm going to start gluing everything down. And by a miracle of TV, you will see that it's all glued down and finally set how I want it. All right, now I am playing with the embellishments. I'm going to be pulling out these, I don't know if they're from Simple Stories or from Crate Paper, but I love how they have like kind of a vintage vibe. We were at a local carnival, and I thought these kind of vintagey sodas and tickets and different things I'm going to use on the page were really good with the theme of the photo. So I really like that, like lemonade or yellow soda, and then the vintage photo or vintage camera is really cute too. So I'm just going to kind of play these die cuts, trying to figure out what I like the best. I have several of these die cuts in this kit that I hadn't gone through yet, so I'm trying to figure out what's going to work best on the page. I don't definitely need that splash because we're not splashing anywhere. So while I am adding the rest of these embellishments, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe. I would love to have you as a subscriber. And because I'm kind of hit and miss with posting these days, if you would like to know when I am posting my next video, make sure you click on the bell and set up notifications so that you know when I post my next video, so you can make sure to check it out. And if you like the video, make sure you guys give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Kind of tells me what videos you like and what you want to see more of, so I can continue to make some fun videos for you guys. Now I'm just taking these die cuts in the kit and just kind of sprinkling them around. I glued everything down at this point, and now I'm going to pull out the sticker sheet. This is where I found a couple tickets, and I thought these tickets would be really good for the fact that we're going to this little carnival. And I'm going to kind of cluster them together, and then I'm going to tuck them there behind the lemon soda. You'll see that in a second. I'm going to audition them at the top. Don't really like them there, but I thought they looked really cute right there. So you can see I'm moving them around, but I will put them there. And then I'll just pick up that little plus and then glue the plus down here in a second. I like how that soda and everything kind of frames the layout on the right hand side and kind of draws your eye into the paper there. Now I'm gluing down the little pluses. These are just some glittery pluses, and then I thought I needed a little bit of something else, so I'm going to take this little white stripe that has the pluses on it, and I'm going to put it in a couple different places. And I really like how this looks. I think because it has that kind of bold white strip, I just think it draws your eye in very nicely. So I'm going to trim it a couple places and put it there. I'm going to put it in the top left for another embellishment cluster, and then I have this little piece left over, and instead of wasting it, I'm going to tuck it into the left hand side of the photo, and I think that's perfect. And this way I don't have to put it back in my sticker sheet and potentially never use it again just because it's a little bitty piece. And a lot of times I think having three things in three different places just kind of balances the layout. So now I'm really just going to finish this up with some enamel dots. If you stay to the end, I do have some still shots of the layout. If you have any questions about anything I did today, make sure you leave those in the comments below. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I had a good time doing this voiceover and this layout. So if you'd like to see more, like I said, give me a thumbs up and I will talk to you again soon. Bye guys. Have a great day.